The DCU Batman discourse just won't die, and honestly is getting kind of exhausting. Even with exciting updates from James Gunn's DCU and Matt Reeves Batman universe, this one debate refuses to go away. Fans are locked in, and every interview, every teaser, every casting rumour just pours fuel on the fire. Now, in this video, I'm not here to slam either of these projects or try and stop these conversations. I'm here to break down why this conversation dominates so much DC talk, what's really behind it, and how we can stop it ruining the hype for both of these projects. And trust me, by the end of this video, I think you'll actually see there's a good reason to be excited for both takes. I'm Phil from DC Chronicle. If you want calmer, smarter DC discussions without the outrage bait, hit subscribe and let's break this down. So what's causing this speculation, right? The number one driver of all the noise, it's the endless will Robert Pattinson's Batman join the DCU speculation. It's everywhere, it's all over social media, all over Reddit. And before I jump into this video, I can hear you all typing right now. I'm very aware that making a video about Discourse adds to the discourse. And like I say, I love the conversation. I'd never want to stop the conversation or the speculation. It's so much fun to me. The issue arises where people form camps, and we've seen it before in past DC projects, right? We've seen it with Snyder and stuff. People form camps, there's tribalism, and I don't like that. I want everyone to all get along, and it's great that we can have multiple projects in the same space. So right now, DC fans do live in this weird space where we have two versions of major heroes running in parallel, but currently not connected. Now, both of these have been critical and commercial successes. DC fans aren't used to having good news stories or having good problems, which here we are, and I'm all here for it. So on the one side, we've got Robert Pattinson's dark, grounded Year 2 Batman in the Batman universe, and David Corenswet's bright, idealistic Superman leading a fully connected DC universe. And the appeal of combining the two is obvious. I mean, just look at the fan edits of the two of them standing side by side. They look absolutely incredible together, it can't be denied. But for me, that's where the logic ends. Even right back to when Peter Gunn and James Safran took over DC Studios, these discussions began. It did emerge that the idea of combining the two worlds had been discussed and presented. And it does seem like it was Matt Reeves who was the one who decided that that wasn't for him, with Gunn and Safran respecting that decision. And yeah, sure, granted, a lot has changed since then. Creature Commandos and Superman have both released to great reception, with Peacemaker, Supergirl and Lanterns all coming down the pipeline. The DCU will be in full swing now, and so far it's been a home run. So perhaps it could be that now Matt Reeves has seen what the DCU has to offer, what it actually looks like. Maybe he does want to hitch his Batman to the DCU wagon. But here's where things do get a little messy. So James Gunn's social media style is very open. I love it, fans love it. He shuts down and he debunks so much nonsense. It feels so satisfying when he shuts down some Twitter scooper. But he will pepper in these kind of never say never responses, which I understand you truly can never say never in the movie industry. Look at Tobey Maguire and Nick Cage, perfect examples of that. These responses keep the more out of touch with reality members of social media fully fueled. You know, one vague answer in an Instagram comment and suddenly YouTube thumbnails are screaming, Pattinson in the DCU. But The Brave and the Bold isn't just another Batman story. It's about a fully formed Dark Knight, one with Damian Wayne as Robin and an established Bat family. So storytelling wise, it makes little sense, very little sense to have Pattinson in it. The DCU Batman has a son, Damian Wayne, a fully established Bat family. Pattinson's Batman is young, he's isolated, and realistically he's nowhere near ready for that kind of storyline. One of the big appeals of the DCU so far is that the world is full of heroes and has been for hundreds of years. We've been dropped into a universe that feels so alive and it's teeming with DC lore that we can just go back and explore so much stuff. This should also apply to Gotham City and to Batman having his whole Bat family in place without the need for a long build-up, that's extremely appealing to me. It's appealing to fans that want to see the Bat family on the big screen for the longest time. By merging the Reevesverse into the DCU, you're making this extremely difficult. In the Batman, Bruce has only been active for 2 years, and unless you time jump and have a whole bunch of development off screen, it's not going to be possible to get this Batman to a point where he has this Bat family. So we'd be talking about having to go through the whole thing, having to go through the Flying Graysons, to Jason Todd and A Death in the Family and Under the Red Hood, to Tim Drake and Red Robin, and then moving on to Damian Wayne and the Son of Batman. And that's before we even take into consideration any other characters like Batgirl, who should definitely get her spotlight in the DCU after the absolute debacle that was the DCEU Batgirl movie cancellation. To make this happen, so we're talking about years and years of films that would be required to get us to the point where they want to be at for the brave and the bold. It's just not something that I see being a good idea or even realistic, given what a mammoth task that would be. That's all overlooking the intention behind these adaptations being they're intended to be completely different, with the DCU ready for a deeper dive into Batman lore, whereas one of the joys of the Reevesverse is that it doesn't have to consider a larger universe or building its stories in that way. It can stay on the trajectory that it's on, which a lot of people are enjoying, and something that I really enjoy as well. The DCU's strength so far is that it starts in a world that's already rich with lore. Gotham should feel the same, alive, dangerous, and already populated by allies and enemies. Now imagine both versions running side by side and fan teams forming over who's their favourite Batman. Dividing audiences is one thing, dividing hype is something else entirely. And that discourse is made worse by one thing that DC can't fix retroactively, and that's bad timing. The Matt Reeves trilogy delays are the unspoken fuel for all this confusion. At least that's what I think. So if you think back, originally the Batman Part 2 was set for a release this year, 2025. And that means we'd be heading into the final act of the Reeves trilogy, just as the DCU Batman was getting introduced in a couple of years' time. That would have been a perfect kind of handover moment. And so delays in the Matt Reeves trilogy have complicated this further. Had things released on schedule, we might now be comfortably wrapping up Pattinson's Batman, paving the way for the DCU version. And I just want to be super clear on this. I'm not blaming anyone here. I don't think it was anyone's fault that there's been delays. Movies are really, really difficult to make. And sometimes, even with all the best will in the world, things they just don't go to plan. And I do think the delay has unintentionally fueled this overlap discussion. If properly timed, Pattinson's trilogy could have neatly concluded just as the DCU's version debuted. I do have a theory. I think that James Gunn was trying to time it this way. If Part 2 of the Batman had come out this year like it was originally intended to, we could have been shifting the discussion to wrapping up the Pattinson trilogy, perhaps with another TV show in between seasons like Penguin. And this would have been a good opportunity to start talking about passing that baton and having handover from one Batman to the other, where there may have been a slight overlap perhaps, but everyone knew one was ending and the other was just beginning. But if timing is something you can't fix, it's off the table. We need to ask ourselves what's a realistic way forward for Batman fans, how we can move past this. So what do I think the best move now is? If we can embrace the fact that we get both Batman, and we don't focus on favourites or who's best or who wins. And that's because Batman has survived and he's thrived through dozens of interpretations, right? So think about Adam West, Keaton, Affleck. Everyone has their definitive Batman. And then we have Reeves' version, which offers detective noir and grounded realism. The DCU Batman is going to dive into this expansive, comic accurate Bat family fans have been dreaming of, and hopefully more of a mystical kind of storyline, since we're getting Damian, Ra's al Ghul, the Demon's Head. That should all be part of this interpretation. And so my perspective is the fandom wins either way. One Batman scratches that gritty, standalone, Gotham, crime saga itch. The other lets us finally see Nightwing, Red Hood and Damian Wayne on the big screen and can tell a bigger, more bombastic story with a Batman who has a whole different outlook to Robert Pattinson's portrayal. Which I do want to know, which Batman are you most hyped for right now? Are you hyped for Matt Reeves' sequel or James Gunn and Andy Muschietti's Brave and the Bold? If you tell me in the comments, I'll pin the most thoughtful answer. And so here's my biggest prediction. In a few years, I think we're going to look back at this and laugh at how heated some of this got. So yeah, the Batman discourse is exhausting. But once we understand why, constant speculation, divided fandoms, bad timing, we can stop letting it dominate the conversation. Let's celebrate variety. Batman is big enough for multiple interpretations at once, and that's something really no other superhero does quite as well. If you like this breakdown, hit like, subscribe, and check out my Peacemaker Sacha Bordeaux video for someone who I think can really change where the DCU goes going forward.